I loved it. I woke up slowly. An alien queen and her daughter sat quietly beside me, HFY Story. Ethan slowly opened his eyes. The first thing he noticed was the soft glow around him, pale lavender light that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at the same time. The air was warm, slightly sweet, and hummed with a quiet energy that he couldn't place. At first, he thought he was dreaming, but as he tried to move, a sharp ache shot through his head and limbs. He was lying on a smooth, curved surface that felt alive beneath him, almost like it was breathing with him. Panic rose in his chest, but it was tempered by a strange calm. Something about this place, this light, and this air made him feel watched yet safe. When his vision cleared, he noticed two figures sitting quietly beside him. One was tall, regal, and graceful. She had a presence that demanded attention without effort. Her skin shimmered faintly in shades of silver and lavender, and delicate patterns traced across her arms and neck like flowing light. She was clearly not human, yet there was something deeply familiar about her calm composure. Beside her, a smaller figure crouched, shy and curious. She had the same glowing patterns, though dimmer, and large, expressive eyes that reflected Ethan's own confusion. Ethan's mouth opened to speak, but no words came out. Instead, he felt something he had never experienced before, an understanding, not through sound but through thought. It was as if the queen's mind brushed against his, gently probing, testing, but never pushing. He realized they were communicating telepathically. "Do not fear," a voice formed in his mind, soft but firm. "You are awake, that is good, you are safe here. You were brought here after your vessel fell. We found you before the other storms reached you. You should rest." He finally sat upright, wincing at the aches in his muscles. The chamber he was in was unlike anything he had seen. The walls curved like the inside of a shell, smooth and reflective, with soft patterns of light moving across the surface like gentle water currents. The floor beneath him seemed almost alive, pulsating softly with each of his heartbeats. Strange plants with translucent leaves floated gently near the walls, humming lightly in tune with the room. It was beautiful, serene, and yet undeniably alien. "Can I move?" he asked carefully, though the sound came from his mouth, not his mind. He wasn't sure if they would hear him that way. Lyra nodded. "Yes," slowly. "Your body is weak, but you are capable. Depends if they've just nearly died in a ship crash. You are not like the others we have observed. Humans have a rare quality. You think and feel in ways that are unusual. You have empathy, creativity, and courage. That is why we saved you." Never had anyone recognized something in him simply for being human. "Can you show me, outside?" he asked after a moment, his curiosity stronger than the pain in his body. Lyra considered him and then gestured with a hand that shimmered softly. The wall before him dissolved into light, revealing the world beyond. Ethan's jaw dropped. The landscape was breathtaking. Floating islands drifted lazily in the pale lavender sky. Towers of crystal and living metal reflected the light in millions of colors. Rivers of luminous liquid wound through the terrain, casting reflections that danced like fireflies. Alien creatures, delicate and ethereal, moved gracefully across the ground, some flying through the air, leaving trails of sparkling dust. Myra stepped closer to Ethan and took his hand. "It's beautiful," she whispered. "I love it here, but it can be dangerous sometimes. And soon you will need to learn. There are dangers approaching our world, and your mind, your human mind, may help us in ways we cannot alone. They have not yet arrived, but their scouts may already be near. We must be ready, and you will help us." "I'll do what I can," he said finally, feeling the weight of his own determination. Myra squeezed his hand gently, her eyes wide and trusting. That small gesture filled him with an unexpected warmth. "You must first regain your strength," Lyra said. "Walk slowly, touch the plants, feel the energy of the world, learn it. Then you will understand how to help." As he walked, he noticed the plants responded to his presence, leaning slightly toward him or shimmering more brightly. Myra giggled quietly and ran ahead, touching a floating leaf, which released tiny sparks of light. Ethan marveled at it. It was unlike any flora he had ever seen. Every movement, every interaction seemed to be alive. He felt a strange connection forming, not just with the aliens beside him, but with the planet itself. Hours passed, or maybe minutes, it was hard to tell. Time seemed different here, more fluid. Ethan felt his strength returning gradually, and with it, his mind cleared. He was aware of the quiet vigilance of Lyra and Myra, always beside him, observing and guiding him. He realized he was not just a visitor. He was becoming part of this small family, even if only temporarily. As night fell, or the equivalent on Eloria, the sky shifted to deeper shades of lavender and indigo. Ethereal lights like distant stars floated across the horizon, moving slowly as if breathing. Ethan lay down beside Lyra and Myra on the soft, glowing platform, his body finally resting. "You are different, human," Lyra said softly as he drifted into a calm sleep. "You see, you feel, you care. That is rare, and soon you will show the strength of your kind, not just in body but in mind and heart." He had no idea what challenges lay ahead, but for the first time in his life he felt truly awake. And all the while the alien queen and her daughter watched over him, silent, protective, and curious. The galaxy beyond their world waited, but for now here, Ethan was home. Ethan awoke to the soft hum of the planet, feeling stronger than he had the day before. His muscles no longer ached, and his mind was sharp and clear. The first thing he saw was Myra, her small glowing figure leaning close, her eyes wide with curiosity. "Good morning," she said in her gentle telepathic voice. "You slept well. I feel like I'm dreaming, but everything seems real. You are safe, but you must learn to understand this world if you are to help it." He noticed delicate creatures flitting between the plants, their translucent wings scattering light like tiny rainbows. Myra ran ahead, pointing out the creatures excitedly, and Ethan couldn't help but laugh. "They are beautiful," he said, watching a group of flying beings hover near a luminescent tree. "Do they all live here? We do not destroy, we coexist. Every being, every plant, every particle has its place. This balance is what allows our world to flourish." "Come," Lyra said, motioning for him to follow. "I will show you more and then you must rest. Understanding comes in time and we have much to prepare for." The rivers were not just water, they carried energy that nourished every living thing. The trees and flowers communicated through light patterns, sharing information about weather, movement, and danger. The creatures were not merely animals, they were intelligent, aware, and sometimes even playful. Ethan listened, fascinated. He had studied alien life forms before, but this was beyond science. This was understanding life itself, seeing it as a living, breathing web that connected everything. Myra ran ahead to touch a floating flower, and a soft pulse of light spread across the garden, almost like a greeting. Ethan reached out to touch it, and for a moment he felt a spark, a connection to the planet itself. "You feel it," Lyra said softly. "You are learning quickly." The walls shimmered as if breathing, and patterns of light moved across the surface like flowing water. Lyra led them inside, and Ethan felt a subtle hum under his feet. The tower was a center of knowledge, a place where the aliens stored memories, histories, and information about their world. "Here," Lyra said, "you will learn what you need to know. But first, you must understand our danger." Lyra had been monitoring their movements and had sensed Ethan's arrival as an opportunity. "You, human, have a mind that is rare among your kind," Lyra said. "You think differently, act differently. Your creativity, your courage, these may help us survive what is coming." Yet he also felt a spark of determination. He had always believed humans could rise to challenges, and now he had the chance to prove it, not for glory, but to protect a world that had welcomed him. "Then teach me," he said simply. "I'll do whatever I can." "You cannot fight them with brute force alone. You must use your mind, your creativity, and your courage." He observed the creatures, learned the subtle signals of the plants, and began to understand the delicate balance that sustained life on Eloria. Myra showed him hidden paths and secret alcoves, giggling as they passed through glowing tunnels beneath the surface. Ethan marveled at everything, but a shadow lingered in his thoughts, the warning of approaching scouts. They had not yet arrived, but their presence was a threat he could not ignore. Lyra had mentioned them, but Ethan needed to see it for himself to understand the danger and prepare. As the sun, or what passed for the sun, began to dip in the lavender sky, Lyra took him to a vantage point. From here, Ethan could see the horizon stretched endlessly, the floating islands casting long shadows over glowing rivers and forests. And then he saw movement, small, sleek ships gliding silently through the atmosphere. They were scouts, just as Lyra had warned. "They come from the void," Lyra said softly. "They seek to claim what is not theirs. But we will not yield. But they are not perfect. I can help you. You will teach us your ways, and we will show you ours. Together, we will defend Eloria." Ethan showed the aliens simple human strategies, how to set up clever traps using their environment, how to anticipate enemy movements, and how to think unpredictably. Lyra and her people absorbed every lesson quickly, blending human logic with their own natural abilities. The floating gardens became training grounds. The rivers, flowing with energy, were mapped as defensive channels. Even the creatures were taught to respond in ways that could alert or confuse intruders. Ethan was amazed at their adaptability. The aliens were not merely passive beings. They were intelligent, observant, and willing to learn. Their combination of natural abilities and newfound strategies made them formidable, far beyond what he had imagined. One evening, after a long day of planning, Ethan stood with Lyra and Myra on the highest tower. The sky glowed in shifting shades of lavender and silver. The scouts were closer now, small shadows moving across the horizon. Ethan felt the weight of responsibility, but also a sense of purpose. "You have done well," Lyra said. "Your mind is unlike any we have seen. It is sharp, creative, and fearless, but the real test is coming." Myra leaned against him, her small form glowing softly in the dim light. "We will be safe together," she whispered. "I know it." Ethan's mind raced with plans, strategies, and contingencies. The aliens trusted him, and he would not let them down. He had survived alone before, but never had he felt such a connection, such a responsibility. This was bigger than him, bigger than any mission he had undertaken. And yet, for the first time, he felt ready. Together, the human, the alien queen, and her daughter watched the approaching scouts. The calm, glowing world of Eloria stretched beneath them, alive and vibrant, waiting for the storm that was about to arrive. And in that moment, Ethan understood something profound. Courage was not just about fighting. It was about protecting, teaching, and uniting. And with that understanding, he felt truly awake for the first time. The scouts would not know what was coming, and that gave Ethan hope. The morning light on Eloria shimmered softly, casting the floating islands in a pale lavender glow. Ethan stood atop one of the tallest crystal towers, Myra by his side and Lyra close behind, her luminous form radiating calm authority. The scout ships that had been distant the day before were now moving steadily toward the planet. They glinted ominously in the sunlight, sleek and metallic, moving with calculated precision. Ethan studied them carefully, his mind already calculating possibilities. He had spent the past day teaching the aliens how to prepare, how to defend, and how to think unpredictably. Lyra and her people had absorbed every lesson, blending human logic with their natural instincts. Yet the looming threat felt larger than anything he had faced before. "They are fast," Ethan said, his eyes narrowing. "But they rely on patterns. They expect the world to react in certain ways. That's our advantage." Ethan pointed toward the flowing rivers of energy. "These channels, they are more than decoration. They carry energy that can be focused. If we can manipulate it, we can disrupt the scouts, sensors, or even redirect some of their ships. Timing and precision are critical." Lyra's people responded with remarkable speed, moving in perfect harmony with his instructions. Plants were positioned strategically, their glowing tendrils able to create barriers or signals. The flowing rivers of energy were redirected through natural channels, creating zones that could confuse sensors and delay the scouts. Creatures of the forest were guided to patrol key areas, their movements coordinated to alert and mislead. As the day progressed, Ethan could feel a rhythm forming, a combination of human ingenuity and alien harmony. This was unlike any battlefield he had ever known. No weapons of mass destruction, no overwhelming firepower. Instead, it was intelligence, adaptability, and cooperation. By afternoon, the scout ships were close enough that their shapes were clearly visible. They glinted metallically against the lavender sky, and Ethan could see small hatch doors opening as reconnaissance drones deployed. Lyra's people held their positions calmly, their glowing forms blending seamlessly with the environment. Myra stayed close to Ethan, watching every move with wide, attentive eyes. "They are testing us," Ethan said quietly. "They are cautious, trying to see our response. That's good. It means they are not yet committed. We can use this to our advantage." A small scout ship darted toward one of the floating islands, aiming directly for a cluster of towers. Ethan signaled to Lyra, who guided the native creatures to intercept. Tiny, translucent beings rose into the air, forming a moving barrier, their glowing bodies scattering the Scout's sensors. At the same time, Ethan activated a simple energy redirection system, causing the Scout's navigation systems to falter. The small ship spun briefly before retreating, its sensors scrambled by the combined defenses of humans and aliens. Myra clapped her hands, glowing brightly. "It worked," she exclaimed. Ethan smiled but didn't relax. "It worked because we were smart, not because it's over," he said. "They will test again, harder this time." Plants shifted, glowing pathways lit the air, and creatures moved unpredictably, confusing the scouts. Ethan also deployed fragments of his ship, using them to reflect light and create phantom signals that suggested false positions. The scouts faltered, clearly thrown off by the unexpected tactics. Ethan's heart raced, but his mind stayed calm. This was a test of human ingenuity, and so far it was working, but the scouts were learning. They adjusted their patterns, closing in on a large tower where Lyra and her people were stationed. Ethan realized that brute force alone would not suffice. They needed a decisive move. "Lyra," he said, "we need to create a zone they cannot predict. Redirect the main energy river toward the tower, but do it through a controlled channel. It will confuse their sensors completely and make them retreat, at least temporarily." Energy from the flowing river was redirected using natural conduits and controlled bursts of alien technology. The tower trembled slightly as the energy passed through the controlled channel, sending waves of light and subtle force outward. The scouts' sensors failed entirely, and their formation broke apart. Confused, the ship scattered, some retreating while others hovered, trying to recalibrate. Ethan breathed a small sigh of relief. "It worked," he said, "for now. You see solutions we could not imagine alone." Ethan, Lyra, and Myra surveyed the landscape from the tower. The planet glowed softly beneath them, alive and serene as if nothing had happened. "They will return," Lyra said quietly, "sooner or later, and when they do, we must be ready." "I want to help next time," she said. "You will," Ethan replied, smiling. "You already helped. You and your people are brilliant. We will be ready together." He had learned so much, not just about the alien world, but about himself. He realized that humans had a unique strength, a combination of creativity, courage, and empathy that could make a difference even in the most alien of places. By morning, Ethan felt renewed determination. The scouts would return, and next time they would be stronger, faster, and more prepared. But so would he and the aliens. Together, they had found a rhythm, a strategy, and a bond that was rare in the universe. Ethan led Lyra and Myra through the floating gardens, showing them small adjustments to their defenses and reinforcing the traps they had set. He explained tactics, timing, and unpredictability, teaching the aliens to combine their natural abilities with human strategies. Myra was eager, asking questions and trying to anticipate his next move. Ethan admired her curiosity and courage. She was learning quickly, and he felt a deep connection forming between them. Lyra observed silently, her eyes glowing softly. "You have changed the way we think," she said finally. "Your mind challenges us, strengthens us. The scouts may return with force, but we are no longer the same. And you, human, have given us hope." As the sun, or the closest equivalent, rose in the pale sky, Ethan, Lyra, and Myra stood atop the tower, watching the horizon. The scouts were not visible yet, but their presence lingered in the quiet hum of the air. Ethan knew they would return, and when they did, he would be ready, not alone, but with the allies he had come to trust and care for deeply. In that moment, he felt a deep connection to Eloria, to its people, and to its energy. He had been a stranger here, but now he was part of its story, and he knew that whatever came next, they would face it together. The first major confrontation had ended, but the real test was still ahead. Ethan's mind raced with possibilities, strategies, and contingencies. He felt alive, fully awake and ready. And for the first time in a long time, he truly understood what it meant to be human, not just to survive, but to think, to care, and to lead. The morning light on Eloria was soft, glowing in pale lavender, but it could not hide the tension that lingered in the air. Ethan, Myra, and Lyra stood atop the highest crystal tower, looking toward the horizon. Today, the scouts would return, not cautiously, not in testing waves, but fully prepared. Ethan could feel it. Every instinct told him that the first skirmishes were just practice, and now the real threat was coming. Lyra's luminous form shone brighter than usual, radiating authority and calm. "They are coming," she said quietly, her voice steady in his mind. "We must act with precision. There is no room for error. You and your people are brilliant, and together we will succeed." But Ethan had a plan, one that relied not on raw strength but on strategy, creativity, and the unique bond he had formed with Lyra and Myra. "Positions," Ethan said firmly. "Myra, stay with me. Lyra, guide the others. Remember everything we practiced. Timing is everything." Plants shifted, creating barriers and confusing lights. Creatures moved unpredictably, patrolling paths and providing early warnings. Rivers of energy were channeled to disrupt sensors and create zones that the scouts could not anticipate. Ethan felt a surge of pride as he observed their coordination. They were ready. The first wave of scouts darted forward, sleek ships cutting through the sky. Ethan activated the energy redirection system he had prepared, sending pulses that disrupted the enemy's sensors. The scouts faltered, their formation breaking apart. Lyra's creatures moved in, creating further confusion, while the glowing flora shifted in harmony with Ethan's plan. "Good," Ethan muttered. "Now the second wave." They had learned from the first encounter, moving faster and attacking with more precision. Ethan's heart raced, but he kept his mind clear. This was a test of ingenuity, and human creativity could make the difference. "Lyra, redirect the main river of energy through the secondary channel," Ethan instructed. "Myra, guide the creatures to form a moving barrier near the cliffs. We need them to misread our defenses." Their sensors failed, their formation broke, and confusion spread among their ranks. Several ships collided with one another while others retreated, unsure of how to respond. Ethan's heart pounded with adrenaline, but he stayed focused. This was far from over. "They will regroup," Ethan said, "and they will attack harder. We need a decisive move." "What do you propose?" "It will create a zone of confusion so strong that they will be forced to retreat, or at least give us a chance to drive them off completely." Ethan worked quickly, connecting energy conduits, directing the plants, and synchronizing the rivers. Lyra coordinated the aliens, moving them with precision, while Myra guided the creatures to the perfect positions. The floating islands glowed brighter and brighter as the energy built, forming a network of light, power, and life. The scouts moved in for their final attack, their ship sleek and deadly, engines humming with power. Ethan activated the system, sending pulses through the energy network. Light surged across the floating islands, rivers, and flora, creating a dazzling display that disoriented the enemy. The scouts faltered, unable to navigate the unexpected energy fields. Ship spun, sensors failed, and confusion reigned. Ethan felt a surge of hope. Now, he shouted in his mind, drive them off. Ethan watched in awe as the combined force of human strategy and alien ingenuity worked flawlessly. One by one, the scouts retreated, their formation broken and their mission failed. Ethan felt a rush of relief and triumph, but he did not relax. He knew the danger was not gone, only delayed. Myra ran to him, her small form glowing brightly. "We did it. We really did it," she exclaimed, her voice full of excitement and pride. Ethan smiled, kneeling to meet her eyes. "We did it together," he said. "You were amazing. You have given us hope." Ethan, Lyra, and Myra stood together, watching the serene landscape. The danger had passed for now, but the bond they had formed was stronger than any threat. "You have earned your place here, human," Lyra said softly. "But the universe is vast. There are other challenges ahead, and you will face them not alone but with allies who trust and respect you." "I came here by chance," he said quietly, "but I'm leaving with something far greater than I expected. I've found friends, a family, and a world worth protecting." "Thank you," he said, deeply touched. "I will never forget this place or you." He had come to this world as a stranger, but he was leaving with a sense of purpose, connection, and understanding that few humans ever experienced. As he prepared to depart, Myra ran to him one last time, hugging him tightly. "Be safe," she whispered, "and remember you will always have friends here." Always. As he activated the ship systems and lifted off, Ethan glanced back at Lyra and Myra standing together on the tower. Their forms glowed softly in the light, a symbol of hope, courage, and the enduring strength of friendship. The galaxy awaited, vast and full of unknown challenges, but Ethan felt ready. He had proven that humanity's creativity, courage, and empathy could shine even in the most alien and dangerous circumstances. He carried with him the lessons of Eloria, the importance of connection, the power of intelligence combined with compassion, and the unshakable strength of the human spirit. And as the ship moved through the lavender skies, leaving the floating islands behind, Ethan knew that this was only the beginning. The universe was vast, but humanity had a place in it, a place where courage, creativity, and heart could make the impossible possible. He smiled, feeling truly awake for the first time.